Why did people stop flying to the moon? To answer this question is not so simple. The historical course of the development of the lunar plane was influenced by a number of circumstances that should be considered in order. It is necessary to understand what is real and what is fiction. Do not forget that the lunar program was designed not only by Russia but also by Americans. Both projects were abruptly discontinued without any specific explanation. Naturally, this causes a lot of questions, and the most important of them: why have we stopped flying to the moon? The reasons for this rapid development of important non-strategic project due to mysterious circumstances. To better understand why people do not fly to the moon, you should carefully consider the history of the development of Earth's satellite television. First of all, we must mention the race, which arranged the two superpowers for supremacy in the world. Everyone knows that in the historical period of space exploration, priority was given to the Soviet Union. Of course, the Americans are also aware that their opponents' progress in space exploration is far ahead and that staying ahead of them is not so simple. To shorten the distance, NASA had to make some kind of breakthrough in space exploration. At this time, the lunar program was created. It worked on the development of about 40,000 employees over 8 years. Do not forget that on the lunar program spent about $110 billion. But if it was well funded, why was it no longer flying to the moon? The event was silent for a long time. Until now, some moments of the history of the lunar exploration universe remain uncleared. It is worth noting that American development in this area has been successful. After all, the key factor here is the Wright-Brown background. This man during World War II, he worked on Adolf Hitler. It was this specialist who created the V-2 rocket. Legendary before the first landing on Earth, satellite NASA conducted 10 launches of Apollo. In 1968, in November, into orbit was launched Apollo 7, and in December Apollo 8. On board was the pilot. First they flew through the orbit of the moon. In 1969, March, Apollo 9 held a lunar space module test, and in May, Apollo 10 held a lunar landing rehearsal, down to altitude 15 kilometers high from the surface of the Earth's satellite. There are not enough seats in here. July 2, 1969, the film crew was sent to the surface of the moon, Apollo 11. This was followed by 6 more expeditions. After the first flight to the moon, it became known that there was something strange on Earth's satellite. This was known not only to Americans, but also to Russia. Around the world, dozens of astronauts have reported that many incomprehensible and inexplicable things can be seen on the moon. From the story it becomes clear that near the surface of the Earth's satellite in different places there are enough bright flashes of different shades, different lengths, as well as directions. Besides, it has been reported that the moon can be seen with strange shadows that frequently move. In addition, the surface of the satellite in Earth's orbit is located at several points of light of impressive size. They circle part of the trajectory of the chords, and in addition, Professor N. Kozyrev, who was an employee of the Pulkovo Observatory, said in 1958 that for several hours the central part of the crater Alphonse was closed by a large red cloud. Similar abnormalities have been difficult to explain without research. Perhaps this is the answer to the question of why people don't fly to the moon. Of course, anomalies on the moon could be the main reason for the closure of the investigation of its surface program. But above all, it is necessary to explore all the strange and unexplained phenomena. Therefore, in the United States in 1965, it was created by the general scientific community, which was engaged in the study of lunar anomalies. While there are only highly qualified specialists in the team. For all time the scientific community has identified many abnormalities on the moon. Many of them were quite difficult to explain. It was for this reason that documents were created in 1968, called the Chronological Catalogue of Lunar Events. That statement about 579 fails to explain unusual phenomena occurring on the surface and in the orbit of the moon. Among the phenomena that occur, disappear the hole. Geometric shapes, giant animal dome, which can change color, that mote can stretch at a speed of 6 km per hour. Glowing objects, and so on. Such a phenomenon does not provide an explanation, but neither the Americans nor the Russians wanted to stop the race to the moon. As a result, we began the launch of the spacecraft, because it was decided to fly and see everything with our own eyes. The presence of abnormalities at that time went unnoticed by anyone. But why not fly to the moon, even after studying many phenomena? So why no longer fly to the moon, even after many years? During the talks with the astronaut Houston was a lot Netagovarok. Of course, many things are difficult to explain, especially if you see them for the first time. 10 years after the first flight to the moon, Morris Shatlin, who was one of the founders of radio equipment for lunar programs, I made a statement that he was present at the session, when Neil Armstrong talked about some object of unknown origin, who landed some distance from Apollo. Then the messages from the moon spoke about some rock formations, located near the planting units. However, some of them, as Edwin Aldrin claims, radiate externally, and some light internally. It is almost colorless and insignificant. These messages refuse to comment not only NASA, but also the crew. After some time, the commander of the expedition Apollo 11 talked about some phenomena. However, to tell the details, he could not, because it was given a disclosed subscription. After the program was closed for the development of satellite television of Earth, NASA admitted that about 25 individual astronauts saw a UFO presence during the expedition. Perhaps this is why more and more do not fly to the moon and develop new programs in its development. Why not fly to the moon, and that it was found by the Americans on its surface. These problems concern many fans of unexplained phenomena. As presented by some documents, the latest expedition Apollo found much interest on the moon. While the astronauts managed to eliminate the strange vehicle, the rocks were large enough that they rolled out of the hole on their own. Of course, that's not all. The objects are noteworthy. Not far from the destination site, pictures of the car were taken, as well as holes with straight and right angles that prevented their formation of craters and canyons, which were simply lined with rock blocks. Such unexplained phenomena on the moon are numerous. Scientists think the moon was once alive, and maybe it exists there today. After all, astronauts managed to partially learn just what was on the surface of the Earth's satellite. Mysterious as to what's inside the moon. Of course, all these facts do not give a comprehensive answer to the question of why people did not fly to the moon. Perhaps, after another 10 years, everything will fall into place, and humanity will finally know the truth.